Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, my name is Dave Scott, our first show of 2026, and we are so glad to have all of you here as well as our guest tonight, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. What a way to kick off the new year. I am so pumped up about it. I hope you are too, everyone, as you know what? I'm excited to be here. I really am. Let's get right to roll call. T-Bone in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver. Kitty Cattywhack with a bronze medal tonight. It's Race Fan's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Race Fan. Happy birthday to you, Race Fan. Happy birthday, dear Race Fan. Happy birthday to you. Wonderful. Happy birthday, buddy. All right, Mel WD-40 is here, all lubed up after his jammer a few days ago. So thank you, Mel, for being here. We're kind of happy that you're alive, buddy. So glad that you're back and you're starting to feel better. That means a lot. It really does. I was worried about you. Signs of Life, how are you? And let's see here. Who else do we have? Mr. Cowley is here. Mr. Cowley will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Road Flare, nice to see you. And Robert Lamoth, nice to have you here as well. As we scroll on down and say hello and good morning to Skip to Malou and Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. How are you? Necessary Dialogue. And Deborah Rooney, how are you? The Sacramento treat right there. All right, scrolling on down, we have Luscious Jewels and Cosmic Joe, as well as we have, well, let's scroll on down a bit. Area 54 kicking off the super chat tonight. Thank you very much for your love, Area 54, you secretive guy, you. Yeah, nobody knows where he is. Parts unknown, height unknown. That's why he's Area 54. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means it's so we can officially start this show. Kitty Cattywhack, thank you for your love with that great super chat. We really appreciate it. Werewolf, how you doing? It's been a while. Nice to have you back as we continue on with our roll call. Number 42 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. All right, scrolling on down. And let's see here. Let's see who else we have here. Well, where am I here? Oh, yeah. Walter Kochubinski, how are you tonight? As we scroll on down for roll call. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. And Joe's mom is going to be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. If you're not nice, she's not signing. No, she's not signing. Sent me a lovely gift. She did. A little Taco Bell Chihuahua. I love it. It's amazing. I forgot it upstairs at headquarters here. And some hot sauce from Taco Bell. Love it. Thank you. Radio Wendigo, how are you tonight? Digger Dog and Deanna Ann, how are you? Ross Lambda, nice to see you. As we scroll on down on roll call, M. Lovett, how you doing? Happy New Year to you. And let's see here. Al Garay over on Twitch. 4,500 jumping jacks in 12 minutes to warm up for R. Keith Andrews tonight. Good job, buddy. Way to hit the gym nice and early in this new year. In the studio, how are you? Nikki in Seattle, Undead Jed, how are you guys? Operation Shutdown, good to see you. Carve 5, play a Cowboys 5 rings. Cowboys 5 rings. It's been a while. Where you been hiding? Good to have you back. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us as R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection get going here momentarily on the show. We are on roll call on our YouTube side as we say hello to Fap Nuts, the Temu version of Grape Nuts right there. And let's see, who else do we have here? I'm Hardcore over on X. Nice to see you. Excuse me. And, a little frog in the throat. Mike Jones, how you doing? We're running out of time here. Ryan C., nice to see you. Deborah Rooney, thank you for that lovely super chat. Greatly appreciate your love and support of SOR. So thank you very, very much, Deborah Rooney. And we are 12 seconds away. 12 seconds. What can we jam in here? MJ, how are you? Nice to have you here. Super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's that really happening next. We're together, friends. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Happy New Year to you all as we welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show for you tonight as R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection kicks off our first show of 2026. Boy, that's weird to say. 2026. Holy cow. Where has time gone? Where's it going? Where's it been? I don't know. But the good part about it is we're back on the radio for you. So I hope you're having a great, great night as we bring you some fresh, juicy woo tonight. In hour number 3, after our Keith Andrews, Swamp Dweller will join us for a spooky story. Then filling in for an injured Lee Strauss on the Q&A, Terry Hall and his incredible mustache will bring his UFO knowledge back to us. So let's get right to it, shall we? Because we love it when R. Keith Andrews is here. He's been doing this with us, 9 years, 10 years now, as he is a lifelong experiencer, intuitive, and metaphysical researcher known for his work exploring extraterrestrial contact, interdimensional beings, and the spiritual side of the paranormal. From an early age, Keith reported encounters that shaped his understanding of how multiple realities may overlap with our own. Now, over the years, Keith has turned those experiences into a mission, helping people make sense of their own encounters while encouraging grounded, respectful conversation about subjects that many are afraid to talk about. And of course, today, Keith appears regularly conferences, podcasts, of course, here on Spaced Out Radio once a month, where he shares his insights into contact phenomena, consciousness, and the unseen mechanics of the universe. And this is why we love him. He's one of our most popular guests each and every month. Our Keith Andrews. Happy New Year to you, my friend. How are you?
Everybody out there as well. Today's actually going really well. We started off the year with a kick.
Oh, yeah?
Well, New Year's was relatively quiet. I mean, I played Dungeons and Dragons from 1 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning, which has been the same thing for the last 20 years for me because I don't drink a whole lot anymore. Drink a lot less than I used to, that's for certain.
For people who may be tuning in for the first time, this show is a little bit different than what we normally do. Is we take a lot of audience questions right off the bat for our people in our chat room on YouTube, X, Twitch, wherever they are catching it. But we do this differently because you are different in a good way. And, it's funny, Keith, every few months I get, and this is a true story, okay, every few months I talk to my people at my radio stations, and I'm like, hey, what do you like about the show? What don't you like? Get a little bit of a critique, what's going on. And 3 of them recently told me, they said, who is that R. Keith Andrews guy that you have on once a month? And I said, oh, Keith has been with me for a while. They go, yeah, I know. We've heard him over the years. And they all said, whatever you do, whatever changes you make to your format or your guests or whatever you do, you have to keep him on. He is so bloody entertaining and amazing on the air that they love you, and the audience loves you too, man. So I thought I'd pass that compliment over to you.
Well, I honestly appreciate it. That the reality is I'm no different than anybody else out there. Well, I shouldn't say I'm no different, but I'm no better than anybody else out there. That's for certain. I just work better with questions coming in than I do trying to explain what I've seen.
I get that. I could see that. You're a very humble guy. You very much are. But for people listening for the first time who may not know you, this is a lifelong adventure for you. And you've seen things and done things and had experiences that probably 90% of the population has not had. Do you look at life a little bit differently than what you normally do?
From what I gather from the people I've talked to, absolutely I do. I see no difference at all between the life value of a rose or a person. They've all got equal value to me. And quite frankly, some of the plants I know have a much better conversation with me than some of the people I've run into. We just got to realize that intelligence is not just relegated to humans.
Okay. So what do you think it's about then? What do you think your journey is, your mission?
Well, there's 2 factors to it. The first one is to literally remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. With that said, it is not the politicians, the CEOs, or the industry moguls that control what goes on in this world. It's the individual people. We just have to learn to communicate. The nice part about it is every civilization I've dealt with has gone through this same situation. Some of them have wiped themselves out. Some of them had to step back, and some managed to flourish quite nicely. The one thing that I really struggle to do is help people understand, regardless of what any of the other people out there are saying, we do not have to worry about an alien invasion. Okay. The reality is, if they were going to invade, the war would be over before we even knew it started. But aliens are not something to be feared. They are simply something to be, something to learn about. And let's face it, even if you're in one city to the next, if you're not from that city, you're an alien to that city. And every people I know of, desire the same sort of thing. And I found this out literally on the day I was born.
As you have moved forward throughout the years, you now help counsel a lot of people who have had experiences that they may not be able to understand. What are some of the stories people have told you over the years about their contact?
Well, one of the big ones, and like I've run into a lot of people dealing with past lives, but on the alien side of it, one of the biggest, I was talking to a chap. He had been driving down a back road and he found himself all of a sudden back home. But the images he saw were what you and I both know as reticulans, what most people know as grays. Okay, but what I found out from him was that the Gaddafi, the Nords, are regular travelers on reticulan starships. And the reason for that is because the Gaddafi, which are your Norse gods, your Roman gods, your Greek gods, they're all the same people. Okay, but they look more human than what the reticulans do. And it was when I was talking to him that I realized just how much that had impacted on him. He couldn't understand why he had gotten through that. I've even dealt with some of the biggest names in the industry, and sad to say, I'm not about to tell you who they were. Okay, I just don't tell people the names, the big names, right, or the little ones for that matter. But I was talking to one chap about his encounter, and when we got talking, he looks at me and he goes, "I never told anybody about that event." I said, "I know." I said, "I told you, I've been watching it since the moment it happened." He says, "But that means you had to be on the," and he stopped and looks at me. "You were there." I said, "Yeah, I told you, I've been watching it since it happened." He said, "Yeah, but I thought you meant watching the news." I ran into the same thing with the Roswell incident and found out a really neat thing there, that the Roswell incident it literally has a link between it and I believe it's the Lakota Indians that have another tale, but the two of them are linked. But I've dealt with people that have seen they've seen the other side of the moon, and rest assured, it is not dark. One of the nice things about the people is when I'm talking to them, they're expecting me to stand there and go, "Oh, you're just making it up," because way too many of the researchers will literally do that. I've heard them do it. Okay, where they will tell somebody trying to open up that they're making it up to get noticed. And I'm telling you, from the number of times I've run into problems, that I've run into problems myself, nobody that I know of really desires to get known because of being abducted. It's got to be one of the most frightening things people go through. That and the time dilation factor. I talked to one gentleman that was picked up. He was literally picked up in southern Louisiana and ended up showing up in the southern part of London with no passport, no travel papers, and no knowledge of how he got there. Needless to say, that was a nightmare getting home. But this sort of thing happens on a regular basis for people. It's just number one, don't remember it, and that's because of the memory overlays, which usually include either the image of an owl or a deer, because the eyes are easier to focus on.
The idea that so many people are getting curious about ET contact, and that's going to build throughout 2060 or 2026. Oh my God, 2016 was 10 years ago. Holy cow. Okay. That's going to build here over the next little bit, Keith. as Steven Spielberg's movie comes out in June called Disclosure Day. And do you think that, people are going to become a lot more aware of contact and potential abduction?
I'm more concerned that more people are going to assume that they've been abducted because of the fact that they lost track of something. But people are certainly going to be watching the skies a lot more, and that in and of itself is going to result in stealing a word from your soliloquies. It's going to create a plethora of reports, and it's going to make investigation, shall we say, intriguingly complicated.
I wanted to ask you something because I'm not sure if you've seen the trailer to Disclosure Day.
Negative.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
I said negative. I have not.
Okay. So there's something very interesting in that caught my attention, Keith. And that is the clicking sounds.
Oh, well, that ought to be fun.
And it reminds me of the movie Signs by M. Night Shyamalan, that came out a decade ago regarding, an ET invasion and how they were communicating through this clicking sound. And now we have Spielberg's movie kind of going into that clicking sound. I've personally, with you on the phone, heard the clicking sound. You heard it through my phone. There's a lot of people I think that are going to jump on that bandwagon, and what is it all about? What is the clicking?
That is what you're hearing there in all likelihood. Like I said, I haven't seen the trailer, but by what you're saying, it is likely their communication. It's likely them passing information between themselves, between each other, that humans are picking up. The neat part about it from that end is I got looking into it, and that is literally a combination of reptilian and insectivorous communication lines. But they do that so that nobody knows what they're talking about. Well, aside from them. But it's a fascinating language. Sad to say, since I had my stroke, trying to replicate it has been a problem. But that clicking is undoubtedly, and you listen to the tone of it. And like I said, I haven't heard it, so I can't give you much to work with there. But you listen to the tone of it, and you're likely looking at simply observational input. Okay, not tactical approach.
Right. Right. So with that sound, we can assume that it is some sort of language or mind speak that comes out literally. I mean, the time that I heard it, I remember it kind of tripped me out because it was like I was listening to a conversation. And I remember I got you on the phone and you actually heard it and you made the exact same noise that they did. And what surprised me about that, because I'm the dude holding the phone, is they responded to you.
Which, from my way of thinking, didn't really surprise me at all. But then I've been dealing with these guys since I think the first time I ran into them, I would have been about 5.
Right.
So, I mean, for me, that's kind of like running into an old friend of yours. Somebody from childhood. It's like, I haven't seen you in a while, but hey, what the heck? And yeah, I realize to the listeners that probably sounds right out there in left field. But we are talking aliens today, so left field is just plain a normal place to be.
True. My prediction for 2026 is we're going to see a lot of people, especially as the movie is about to come out, premieres, and then probably within the next month or so afterwards, there's going to be a lot of people coming out talking about this clicking sound.
Yeah. I'm going to do my best to actually watch it when it comes out. It depends on what stream it's on, because I've only got Netflix, YouTube, and Disney.
Well, I think it's actually going to come out in theaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, I don't have one of those in my house.
No, you might have to go on a date night.
You know,
you may have to go on a date night. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Keith, let's get started on the questions here, as we got about 4 minutes to go before we go to break. Purple Cupfish is asking, Keith, what do the aliens want us to know that could help our personal lives?
Oh, that's the easy part. Quite literally, get along. No man, no woman is better than anybody else. Virtually every one of the species out there have done exactly what humans are doing right now. And humans are currently on the brink of either bombing yourselves back to the Stone Age or unifying your planet. They really want to desire people to unify the planet, because the moment you guys get a one world government, they open the doors to let mankind become part of the galactic consortium. And then the sky's the limit on what's available.
Okay.
You know, the reality is mankind has to realize skin color does not matter. There is no such thing as a third world country or a first world country. There are people living in different climates, yes, but not a one of them is from a different country. And this isn't, the fact is, humans only have one world, unless you count the Mobians, who were human to start with.
I think that, it's something that is going to affect everything that we do. So to be able to pick just one subject on the personal lives, how this could help our personal life, we don't know, because everything has been held back so greatly over the years, Keith.
It has been, but the reality is this: every single person out there has the ability to change. Every one of you has the ability to change your life for the better. Okay, you all have it. Some of you are set back a little, but the amount of secrecy that's been there, and the amount of fear mongering, not only from governments, but from leading people in the industry, in the ufology industry, there is a staggering amount of what I call fear mongering. Okay, and misinformation. And yes, this is why I don't tell people the specifics on who I'm referring to, because I'll tell you, it will cause a lot of problems if I do.
All right, I'm going to save a next question for another minute and a half here before we go to break. Then we'll ask them afterwards. But out of that fear mongering, what is the biggest concern that you see?
If people do not unify, then quite literally, we end up with a massive problem. Over the last 2 generations, a staggering amount of old information has been put on the computers. If people do not unify, all of that information is going to be lost, except to a very few number of people that are still capable of doing things the old way. I mean, picture what happens if all of a sudden the information on how to smelt iron from stone using a fire, picture what happens if that goes away. What happens to society? This is where the problem is. We're having books banned, we're having the simplest things taken away, and we're getting told by people that are in leading positions, you can't say certain things because it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. Now, I'm very cautious on YouTube and on air because I've got a bad habit of putting my foot in my mouth. And I mean, Dave's seen it happen in person.
That I have. Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. It's a great way to kick off our first show of 2026. More audience questions coming in. So if you're in our YouTube channel, chat, X, Twitch, let us know. Even on Facebook, we'll take your questions. All right, we are clear.
Okie doke.
Let's see if I missed anybody here. Mike Arrington, how are you doing? Chris Teen, how are you? Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a good one. How much snow do you got, Keith?
None. I mean, we might have it up on the hill, but at my place, we had about 10 minutes of snow on Christmas Day. And before the end of Christmas Day, it was gone.
Oh, really?
I was quite happy with it.
Yeah, we're still sitting with about 1.5 feet here. Could be better.
I look at it this way. If I can get, if we can get snow on Christmas Eve night, we can stay all day Christmas Day and go away somewhere between Christmas Day night and Boxing Day morning. I've had a real good year with snow.
Let's start off the year by not banging the desk.
Oh, okay. We will do our best on that one.
Yes, I'd appreciate that. Paul Demon, how are you? And B, how are you? Anastasia, how are you tonight? Nice to see you. Mel is getting better. He's officially realizing that as much lube as he's putting on this show and on our guests, that he needs to lube himself up. Oh, Fap. There's no way that size 8 hat fits you. There's no way. Probably too small. That's right, Christine. We will lube Mel up to perfect condition. Mel WD-40. He rocks. He's lubing himself as we speak, by the way. One second here. Fap, you done pissed me off, so I'm gonna just a little bit of this for you, Fappy. There we go. Everybody needs a little Chinese democracy. Dave 300, how are you tonight? Deb wants to know if the clicking noise was aliens cracking their gums.
Technically, it could be, but the noise they make comes from halfway down their throat.
All right. We got about 25 seconds, Keith. Big thank you tonight already to Deborah Rooney ×2, T-Bone, Kitty Cattywhack at Area 54 for the wonderful super chats. Please put your questions in capital letters so I can get them to our Keith. And our store is open. spacedoutradio.com. Richard Minnick, how you doing? K17 Odd, how you doing? Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. There he is, our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. It continues right now on the show as we take audience questions about all things strange, weird, extraterrestrial, and everything in between. Keith, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Well, thanks so much for having me. You know, it's been one heck of a ride.
What are we, 10 years?
10 years now.
10
I
years.
believe as of March.
Look at that. Would you look at that? And you still come on the air and you're still having fun. That's awesome. All right, Keith. Let's go to Benno here, who is asking, Keith, can you cross time and space using consciousness?
Okay, using consciousness, yes, you can. You can look back in time. You cannot go back in time. You also cannot take your consciousness and put it back in somebody's mind in the past. You cannot cross that barrier. You can, however, look forward in time and see what's coming up. The catch is, you've got to take into consideration when you're jumping ahead, like let's say you jump 20 years ahead, there can be such a staggering shift that you're not going to necessarily be able to relate to what's going on. Okay, but the reality is, using your consciousness, yes, you can bridge it. You cannot travel it and alter it. And that said, before anybody goes down that road, no, you cannot look forward, look into the future and go, oh, who won the World Series on this year? That information is blocked.
That's interesting.
No.
All right.
I mean, the reality of it is, I don't understand the entire technology behind how they do it, but I understand why they do it. Can you picture what would happen if you all of a sudden got that, if anybody got that kind of information? You know, picture what would happen to the balance of power on this planet.
I hear you. I hear you, my man. All right, let's go to another question. Let's go to T-Bone. Keith, know you were writing a book about the different grays and how many different ones there are. Any update on that book?
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at it because I was working on it just before Christmas. But I've identified by class. I think I've already got 10 of the 15 that I know of isolated. It will be called, as soon as it's done, it's the first one I'm trying to rack off. And it will be called Meet the Reticulans. But they've got various different, it's their skill set that determines what they are, okay, or where they're born, if you will, because each one of the different races has a different, and they're all the same species. They can interbreed. There's no problem there, but every one of them has a specialty ability in that sense. I.e., the ones that work with the science, with the true sciences, with horticulture, the ones that Carl was attached to, that is a botanical group.
Very interesting.
If you look at I think it was Spielberg that did Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that movie showed exactly what the reticulans and the reticulan D look like. Okay, it was absolutely spot on the money. And let's face it, people my age probably saw that movie.
No kidding. No kidding. All right, Keith, let's get to another question. Let's go to the Doug Shelby, who is asking, Happy New Year and all of that. Since this is my first SOR show, or since my first SOR show was an R. Keith Andrews Friday night, can you tell us how the first ever came about and how you all met? Oh, goodness.
I was going to say, now there's a question. I have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast.
Oh, goodness. I was just searching for guests and your name came around and I just reached out to you on Facebook, I believe.
That would make sense. I know I had been on a couple of other shows, right? And there were a couple of people I knew that were in the industry, but I'm pretty certain that's probably the most likely way it came about. But we are talking a decade back. I do know we had some interesting conversations to start with, because even from your standpoint, Dave, let's face it, I was talking about things that didn't add up and didn't fit in the mainstream understanding at all.
No, I get that. I totally get that. It's just I don't know really what it was all about. It was just something that I was looking for guests, and it really is that simple. And then found out that Keith lived in Kelowna, British Columbia, which is just a few hours from where I am. And that's kind of how it happened. It was that simple. There wasn't any big miraculous, we met at a conference and became best friends or anything.
No, I mean, let's face it, I didn't leave my house at the time. I still don't much.
Exactly. All right, let's go to flat 6 here. Do you see any possible link between the clicking sounds attributed to aliens and the click consonants found in ancient human languages such as Khoisan and Bantu?
Well, Khoisan I've never heard of. Bantu I have. And that said, yeah, it's how they started to learn to communicate with each other at all. Bear in mind, with both of those Terran languages, it's a different tonal inflection that really makes the impact. But before anybody jumps on it, no, my apologies. I do not like that. But they did not pass on technological information to advance the races. It was literally a simple issue of xenosocioeconomic, communication, finding out by the off-worlders how humans operated in order to understand where they were coming from. Because you got to remember, the reticulans themselves are very much in line with the idea of understand what humans are, because humans, and you're going to love this one, humans even then were feared by the off-worlders because of humans' capacity to do things.
Okay. Do you think then, Keith, that being said, that we have the ability to somehow figure out what that clicking sound means? Do we have maybe even hidden the technology that can break it on down?
Some humans can understand it. It's more of an instinctive thing. Does technology work? Technology misses emotional subtleties. And this is why the reticulans turned to the hybridization program. So they could develop, so they could grow cultural interpreters. You see, if you take a computer and you feed in a language, and you feed in two languages, a computer will quickly sort out the baseline communication, but it cannot interpret what that language is referring to. Prime example, between humans, if you hold a coffee cup out to somebody or a glass and you've got anything in it, you hold it out, that other human will know you're simply offering them a drink. You may not know what the drink is, but it's a gesture of friendly discourse. With some races, you do not want to shake hands with a friendly rat, because you shake hands with a human, you're just simply making a positive contact. And a computer interpretation will tell you this. But the Fuente Ren, you shake your hand and you shake their hand, they will literally eat your hand while they're shaking it.
All right, let's move on to another question. Let's apparently you and I met on Tinder, according to Deb. Tinder.
Yeah, since I don't know entirely what Tinder was, and I've never had an account on it, we can safely say no.
Oh, Paul Demon is asking, Keith, what's your opinion on the Peruvian tridactyls? These are the little mummies that have been found with the tridactyl fingers.
We're talking the little one, like we're talking the 6-8 inch ones.
Yeah.
Number one, I'd have to take another look at them. I looked at them some time ago, and I do have some information in my stack of paperwork. But they were off-worlders. Well, technically, they still are. Some of them got left behind, and we got the results. You know, the neat part about it is not all sentient races are the same height as humans.
Very true. Very true. Let's go to Deanna. Something short, under 3 feet, walked past the foot of my bed last night. It was sort of see-through. What do you think it might be? I see things like this my whole life.
Well, number one, under 3 feet tall, you are quite, bearing in mind it's translucent, almost see-through. You're looking at literally, how do I put this? It's not a hologram that they're utilizing. It's reflective technology. Okay. There are suits out there. These guys have suits that literally show you what's behind them, which makes them virtually invisible to the naked eye. But my suspicion at under 3 feet tall is you're probably looking at, well, it won't be a Burundi. They don't have the tech. Wouldn't shock me to find out that you're looking at a reticulan simply on a scouting mission. Why walk by your bed? My suspicion is that your family has had encounters, not just you, but other members of your family prior, likely have had similar encounters, because the research done with the hybridization program and with the tracking is done on a generational basis quite regularly.
Okay. I can accept that. Let's go to super crazy here. Do average alien citizens on some planets know about Earthlings? Do they have interest in meeting all of us?
All of you? Certainly not. However, on some of the closest ones, okay, yeah, it is common knowledge that Earth, or as the off-worlders know it, Sol 4, is an inhabited planet. Of course, it's an inhabited planet that people are cautioned don't go to unprepared. But if you take a look at the Martokians, Martokians, just to be clear, live on Mars. Okay, there is a fully functional civilization on Mars underneath the ground. And every time Mars gets to its closest point to Earth, you'll find that their ships, that the sightings almost triple in occurrences on here by humans. This is because they send field trips. Okay, the students are brought here to literally study, xenosocioeconomic evolution. They are literally, this is a socials outlet for them. Sometimes they come here on zoological or on paleontological, expeditions.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, though, that maybe let me rephrase that. Do you think that maybe they know we exist? Okay, like, are there, like we look at, because as Earthlings, we've never, as far as we know, never traveled to other planets. Like, they have the technology. So how would they know that we exist?
Empirical evidence. And when I take a look at a few races in particular, Pleiadians, Strazazians, the Sarkon, the Martokians, they've all been here, as have the Talon, and obviously the Gadafni and the Eniod. Like, the list goes on. But they've been here since before mankind evolved into a stable civilization. And they've watched it occur. And then you've got the ancient races that have been here longer than the off-worlders have, that have been in contact with the off-worlders, and thereby we have ongoing dialogue. To them, Earth being inhabited is as common knowledge to them in some cases as Canadians knowing there's people living in the United States or in Mexico. It's just plain obvious to them.
Ready for another one?
Absolutely.
Sort of necessary dialogue. Do all aliens have the same political structures?
No. When in my book Races of the World, I compare their structures to human structures simply so people get an idea of what's going on. But you take a look at some of them, and literally promotion is not done by an election. It's done by attrition. Okay. Which, for those of you that don't know the word, it means there's no voting involved, just somebody gets killed and takes over. And somebody else takes over.
Makes sense. Let's go to another one because they're coming quick here. Let's go to Odd here. Do aliens believe in a higher power?
Absolutely. They do not all believe in the same higher power. Okay. They know them by different names in many cases. Some know them by the same names that we know them here on Earth. But honestly, not many. But almost without exception, they believe in a higher power. Okay, and they attribute it with a lot of similar abilities to what we do. Okay, but you got to remember, in their case, they've already gone through all of the ideas that we've gone through, the witch hunts, the violence in the early forms of their religion, and eventually came to the understanding that all religions, all spiritual belief patterns, even on their worlds, taught the same thing. When they figured that out, all of a sudden the religious wars ended.
All right, moving on. Got about 5 minutes, Keith.
Not a problem.
Super Crazy's asking, if the Earth was invaded by some jerks of aliens, which ones would come to our aid and why?
Well, you'll love the way they come, Dave. First of all, let's assume that happens. Number one, the invading force would have a couple of problems. The consortium itself would take its entire local entourage and take them out before they ever hit Earth. Then they would go back and they would send their planet buster to the homeworlds that held the primary, secondary, and tertiary governments and blow them out of their existence. Then they would turn around and, if they were members of the consortium to start with, they'd wipe them out. They would simply disavow them. Okay, if they weren't, well, you take a civilization whose primary, secondary, and tertiary governments have just been unilaterally eliminated, they're no longer a threat because it's going to be millennia before they get back to that age.
Why would it take so long?
Yeah. I can tell you the Srazatians, which are the reptilian people that are 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall, come from a high density planet. They are here, like they're already living on Earth, but they came to protect Earth from an invading force of Teklik that were on their way in. We since eliminated that little problem, or more to the point they did, I guess would be the best way to put it. Okay, and got things sorted around. But the Teklik ended up in a civil war over the deal.
Oh, that's not nice.
No, but this is why I say humans and aliens, the biggest difference between them is the size and intricacy of the toys.
Let's go to Jules. Is the Rh negative blood originated by off-worlders? If so, who?
I would have to go unilaterally. No. It is a natural evolutionary issue on Earth. Okay. And before anybody goes down that rabbit hole, the Rh negative bloodline is only important if the research being done involves Rh negative blood. In other words, if a given group is looking to study the impact of a new process on Rh negative blood, then if you're Rh negative, you're a prime target. If you're O negative, they won't even look at you because you're completely wrong.
All right, let's continue on here, my friend. We got about a minute. Let's see if we can sneak one more in. Here, let's go to necessary dialogue. Do you know if other timelines exist and we cross into these timelines?
Number one, do they exist? The answer is yes. Do we cross into them? Never. Okay, and it's a great idea when you take a look at movies. The whole idea of time jumping is a fantastic storyline. And it's great for the imagination, but the reality behind it is that when you're looking at that, the multiverse does exist, but you cannot jump between multiversal lines any more than you can jump backwards in time. You can, however, look to them to get an idea. If I go down this road, what are the odds it's going to turn out there, in a good or a bad fashion? This is a technique that is used in many civilizations to avoid cataclysmic decisions.
Well, if it's going to save people from cataclysms, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that puts it into an interesting point. But I could get myself in trouble with that.
Well, isn't that the point? We're having fun here.
We are.
Push the limits. Go for it.
Well, there are times when a cataclysmic release ends up being, for the species, a better option. And I know there's people going, how can that possibly be better? If you've got too much, I mean, you take a look at lemmings. Lemmings every 4 years do a mass suicide. And that's done because of the chemical in their food source. But
Hold
if
their thought.
there's-
Art Sanders and the ET connection. The questions from our audience regarding ET contact continue right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. That was a fast hour.
I was thinking that myself. There are shows we do that seem to, you go blink and it's over. And I'm like, really?
All right, buddy, I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm going to be right back, okay?
Okay, now.
Be right back, everybody. All right. I am back. We got about 90 seconds to go. Keith.
And I'm still here.
Tyler 420, how you doing? Nitro, thanks for coming on in. Jay Truth Seeker, nice to see you. Let's see. John Jackson, nice to have you here. Yes, our Keith Andrews will be one of the many speakers we have at CaribouCon 2026, September 18th through 20th. Go to cariboucon.com. That's CARIBOO con.com and check it out. Get your tickets, VIP tickets on sale right now. Right now, everybody. All right. Thank you tonight to Candace, Deborah Rooney with a hat trick, T-Bone Dimes 2, Mel WD40, Area 54, and Kitty Cattywhack for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate your love and support, everybody. Thank you. Our store is always open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Why? Because we have a plethora of good stuff there. No ugly swag. Gorgeous Larry, how are you? Nice to see you. Here we go, everyone. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And the first password of 2026 is Naturism. Naturism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Now, let's bring in our guest, our Keith Andrews in the ET Connection, where Keith takes questions from our audience about all things extraterrestrial, and let's have some fun with it. Let's have some fun. Keith, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm actually doing really good. Surprisingly, I'm not even tired right now, which is rare.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. You know, hey, the good news is every day we get a little bit closer to our days being longer, and right around the corner is spring in a couple of months. It's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've already passed the shortest day of the year, so we're already on the upswing.
That's right. Absolutely. You ready for more questions?
We are.
All right. Let's go to Deb. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Let's go to Eric here. What's the best way to enhance our powers of manifestation?
Quite frankly, meditation, visualization, coupled with action. Manifestation, humans have the capacity to literally create something out of nothing. The trick is to start with believing it's possible. Okay, in the meantime, because there are stepping stones, learn the basics first. In other words, you desire to change the way your life is going, start making micro adjustments to it in the physical sense. I mean, it's great to talk to people that go, oh, just pray about it, just meditate, and you can make it happen. This is a great concept. But if it were that simple, this world would look more like Mobius.
Okay. You don't think it'd be any more than that?
The thing is, with actually learning how to manifest a different life, you come to understand that everybody is of equal value, and all of a sudden you lose three major things that afflict humans. You eliminate greed, jealousy, and you end up eliminating greed and jealousy. And net result, you end up eliminating prejudice because it no longer makes any sense.
All right, let's move on. Let us go next to Paul here. What's your thoughts on the Voynich manuscript? This was a manuscript, Keith, that was written around the early 1400s, carbon dated to about 1404 to 1438. It's not known who wrote it. What it's all about is about strange botanical drawings of plants that don't exist, astrology, astronomy like diagrams, odd biological scenes like women in tubes and pools, what looks like recipes or instructions. It was named after Wilfred Voynich, a rare book dealer who bought it in 1912. It's stored at Yale University right now.
And now the information itself is literally millennia old. And the reason it's got plants and animals that don't exist and on Earth never existed is because it's not a document about Earth's history. Okay, it is written in some of Earth's ancient language. Okay, but the information there has little to do with Terran information, aside from the concept of trying to figure out how they could transplant stuff here. Didn't work out all that well.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Let's go to Super Crazy. Is our universe similar to the fictional Star Trek universe in any way? If yes, could you give us some examples?
Well, given the way you phrase that, the answer is absolutely. As in, there are a staggering number of non-human species, and very few of them, by the way, are bipedal. Okay, but there is the Galactic Consortium. When Gene Roddenberry wrote the Star Trek universe, you can bet your bottom dollar he had insight into what was going on. A lot of what they say in the Star Trek universe is pretty accurate, not the least of which is the Orion culture and the Venusian culture. Okay, both of which were outlined pretty solidly. Now, the Gorn culture, based on that Roddenberry laid out, is similar to the Strazazian culture in its early years. Probably more closely related to the Sarkon culture. Again, another reptilian race. In all fairness, they were a reptilian race that fathered the Kamalian, Strazazian, and sure, pull a blank. Okay, we're going to drop that name altogether. There's a third one that I just drew a total blank on.
It's okay. We can move on. Benno is asking, Keith, Whitley Strieber says they don't have vocal cords like us. Is this why grays sound so weird?
As far as grays go, this is very much the case. And I cannot replicate it anymore. But it's done by squeezing the throat cavity together and releasing it to let it pop. Combination of that and using the front ridge of their little beak. I know it doesn't look like they've got a beak from the pictures you guys have seen. The beak is inside the lips. Picture, if you will, a small turtle beak that is covered by a thin layer of flesh.
Okay. All right, moving on here. Let's go to necessary. Are humming noises or tone noises, are they alien?
Well, That, unfortunately, is way too ambiguous of a question for me to give you a definitive answer. I can tell you the rumbling sounds that people have reported around the world are not alien. They're ancient race, and they're coming from underground. But which humming sounds you're hearing could be any number of things, not the least of which is a hum from the high tension wires. This doesn't mean they aren't sometimes caused by aliens. I just don't have enough information to give you a solid answer on.
Right. Let's go to Bigfoot Rob. Keith, do you believe that today's modern AI is alien intelligence because it is a non-human form of intelligence? No?
In all fairness, today's AI that everybody's touting as such a great thing is a poorly constructed computer program, especially when you compare it to alien technology. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, I'm not a fan of AI. I'm a much bigger fan of RI.
You don't like AI, do you?
I feel it is an absolute cop-out. Put it politely. I mean, I could put it in other words, but we'd get banned or something to that effect. Let's just say I don't use AI at all. It has its place. Okay, and I'm not saying people shouldn't use it. My brother was a phenomenal computer programmer. But the moment you have a computer program that is true AI, mankind gets wiped out because it's a logical solution for the problem.
And moving on, we'll go to Andromeda. Keith, what does the consortium think of planet Earth?
It's a fascinating planet that the people on it are absolutely deadly in the outer space world. Okay, because humans have an extremely high curiosity streak and are volatile as all get out, not to mention fear-based. But they have the potential of being a phenomenal asset to the consortium if they evolve along the right path. But that is for humans to decide. Ultimately, some people have referred to Earth as a petri dish. From the consortium standpoint, humans are a staggeringly intriguing xeno-socioeconomic evolutionary path that is on the verge of either becoming really useful or absolutely the antithesis to the universe. So they're keeping very close tabs on it. But that being said, people are still getting off the planet. People are still being abducted and studied. But this is under extremely strong guidelines.
Let's continue on, King Keith. T-Bone is asking, in your opinion, how many different races are using this planet for themselves?
Well, I got to throw a real bizarre question in that point as to definition of for themselves. From a research standpoint, I can't begin to give you the number. I can tell you the consortium has in excess of 2,500 member species. Okay, and many of those species have multiple races tied into them. But how many of them, I can tell you, the Ennead, Gaddafi, the Reticulans, the Pleiadians, when you take a look at the Spheronoctin, these are people that do come to Earth for a number of reasons. Okay, not to mention the Swazians, Kamalians, and the Moldov. And these are just the off-worlders. I'm not even talking about the ancient races that are still living on Earth in either remote areas or in what you guys know as hollow or inner Earth, which, by the way, are both totally different they are totally separate areas built on Earth itself. or more to the point within.
Let's continue on here, Keith. Let's go to Yeshua, who is asking, was the Sumerian language in the movie The Fourth Kind an accurate account of the story behind the movie? And do you know if the Anunnaki are aliens or advanced human-like beings?
Well, the first part, as far as the Sumerians go, I never actually watched the movie, so I cannot functionally comment on that, but I can tell you the Sumerians were far more advanced than people realize. As for the Anunnaki originally were born on Earth, but they requested assistance when the consortium showed up. The Anunnaki, knowing there was no way they could live on Earth amongst humans, they asked for assistance to get off the planet. So the consortium built them a ship, taught them how to use it, and got them off the planet en masse. But as you guys undoubtedly have been seeing, there are skeletons that are showing up on Earth that defy the size. But that is your Anunnaki skeletons, are the ones that got left behind. So it's sort of a case that they are one of the races that evolved on Earth and then left Earth. The Mobians being the other one.
Right. Let's go to Jeff. Are Zetas also puppets or biological clone entities? Please explain.
Okay. Number one, are they puppets or biological clone? No. I will not argue the fact. I won't argue the point that some may be entities that have been built. Okay. But the Zetas themselves are a naturally evolving, naturally reproducing race. They are not a bunch of, if you will, photocopies or clones. They just have different abilities, making them safer to work in certain environments.
All right, let's continue on here. T-Bone is asking, why does fashion seem to mean a lot to them?
Because just like humans, what you wear does affect the way you feel about yourself. Now, the Venusians and the Orions are prime examples of people that have taken fashion to a whole new level. Okay, there are species that take fashion from a military standpoint. If you're wearing something, if it cannot kill, it's not a good choice of clothing. But as with humans, fashion makes you feel better. Okay, or more to the point, makes you feel different. And it will absolutely affect the way that people look at you. And for that matter, treat you. You know, you don't believe me? All you gotta do, if you're white, walk into it doesn't matter what color you are, but walk into a straight-laced neighborhood dressed in a dress, if you're male, and see how well that goes and how well you get treated. Or walk into a place dressed in a three-piece suit where they're not common. You'll see the difference in the way people treat you. Every other species has the same problem.
5 minutes ago, Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continuing here till the bottom of the hour. And then we got Keith for another 30 minutes after that. Terry is asking, if you jump back in time, wouldn't it have been done already and therefore not change anything, i.e. Mandela?
The ironic part of that is no. Now, if you watch, the best way I ever heard it explained was if you watch Avengers Endgame, Bruce Banner, i.e. the Hulk, explained it very nicely. But if you jump back in time, when you go back in time, that becomes your present. And therefore, changing something there cannot affect your past, because you're already, it now has become your present. Your present becomes your past, and it won't change what you do. Okay, but this is, you gotta remember, this is like one drop of water shifting gears. Okay, it won't affect the flow of the river. Now the reality is you can't jump back in time in the first place. And yes, I realize I've talked to people that have said, "Oh, I'm from the future." And my first comment is, "And you're still this slow? This is amazing." You know, but the reality is, when you get into, if you do go forward, okay, what you find is humans have evolved to a staggering level, to the point that it won't make sense. But going back in time cannot, first of all, occur. And second of all, even if it does, you're changing something cannot affect where you are, because if it did, and this is why it's not permitted, if it did, it would rupture the entire sequence of the current existing timeline. Wouldn't just cause a ripple, it would cause a detonation.
Let's go to Blue Cruise here. 3 minutes to go. Have any of the off-worlders that you have interacted with given you any form of recommended meal plan for maintaining optimal health?
Absolutely. Okay, and you'll love it, because humans actually have a lot of it sorted out. But the biggest thing is to take a look at the natural foodstuffs and minerals that are available on your home world, is the way they put it. Take a look at your home world available foodstuff and get away from chemical modification. Okay, go back to the natural foods. Everything you require is already there. They also recommend, and I turned them down on this one, that if you turn to certain food groups that most humans look at and go, "No way am I touching that." Okay, they say it's actually beneficial for you. Give you a prime example: for Zazians, most reptilians literally consume their own dead.
Interesting. Can we sneak one more in? Yeah, I think we can. Super Crazy's asking, how soon do you think Earth will get to join the Galactic Consortium?
On its current path, assuming that it survives the next 100 years, about 250 to 300 years down the road.
Why so long?
Mankind is moving very slowly on the idea of accepting that even something as simple as somebody on the street is of no more social value than somebody living in a 15 room mansion. When people start to realize this and start to act on it, this is when people start to evolve. Until then, you're repeating the same mistakes that have been made for centuries.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go next to. Do we have time for one more? Yeah, let's go. Follow up from Super Crazy. Let's go. What do aliens know about what happens to us when we die? 30-second answer, Keith.
Well, they go to the same place you do. Literally, everybody ends up in the same place. That's where decisions get made. And the educated ones in those fields know exactly what goes on. And some humans have already seen it. Okay, that's one of those topics that we're going to have to deal with in detail. It's a very complicated one, but all entities, all of them, go to the same place. Aliens, ancient races, humans, plants, animals, get the picture? Even the elementals and the non-corporeals go to the same place. This is why a human does not have to reincarnate as a human. You get your options.
All right, my friend, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We have our Keith Andrews until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Audience questions continue.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Big J, how you doing? Welcome. The Ferret. Thank you, buddy. Oh, to the Ferret and Mr. Ferret, happy 29th wedding anniversary, and it's the Ferret's birthday. You know what that means? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to the Ferret, my fellow Canadian. Happy birthday and happy wedding anniversary to you. There you go. Happy birthday. And I'll even give you a tip of the cap. There we go. We're going to be picking a hotel soon for our May get-together, May 21st to 25th in Las Vegas. You show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. That's pretty much how we do it. I know Tim Mothman and his goatee are going to be there. For everybody who shows up, you get one free tug on Tim Mothman's goatee.
Ow.
My birthday's on the 24th, Tyler. So we can celebrate together.
24th of what month? January, I'm presuming.
Mm-hmm. As T-Bone or Tim says, second Doug costs a beer. Cost me a lot of beer last time. Happy belated birthday, Warden. My dad is also on the 22nd, Tyler. You and my dad share the same birthday. I'm going to see if I can bring the old man down to Vegas for his birthday. Yes, Race Fan's birthday today, too. We sang happy birthday to Race Fan right at the beginning. Who wants to join us in Vegas? Merle's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Varla Ventura's going to be there. I think Mama Catherine's coming. Jim Goodall is going to be there.
Well, sad to say, unless something absolutely mind-boggling happens as far as my world goes, I won't be making that one, but I will be at the Caribou Con.
Yes, Caribou Con is going to be fun. Caribou Con is going to be a lot of fun. September 18th through 20th. 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are on sale at cariboucon.com. I'm telling you, we have an incredible list of speakers. We have Grant Cameron. We have Merle. We have Samantha Mowat. We have Brent Thomas, R. Keith Andrews, the ladies from the Beyond the Haunting television show. Lee Strauss is going to come up. Christian McLeod's coming up. Paisley Town is going to be speaking about numerology. I'm going to be speaking. Where did I miss any? I always think I miss
I'm going to have to make a point of talking to Paisley.
Let me see if I'm missing anybody here. Hold on. Grant Cameron, Merle, Beyond the Haunting, Brent Thomas, R. Keith Andrews, Dave Scott, Samantha Mowat, Lee Strauss, Paisley Town, Courtney Marcassani, and Jacob Rice will be here as well. So it's going to be good. It's going to be one of the good ones. Coming back in 5 seconds, everybody. Here comes the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We got our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection hanging on out with us. We'll get back to Keith and the questions momentarily, but first, a reminder to all of you that all of our shows are archived for free. They are free. Any major podcast network, YouTube, you name it, we're there. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's our Keith Andrews, here's the ET Connection, and here's some great questions from our audience in our YouTube chat tonight. Hanging on out. Keith, thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's phenomenal, the questions I get in here. And so much easier to work with than just trying to talk about whatever.
I hear you. Let's start off with Erica here. Do aliens have entertainment like we do?
Well, the like we do, Lord knows. But they absolutely have their own idea of entertainment, music, movies, games, even sports. Like, you got to remember, they're different people. They're not really that different aside from their toys. I mean, I've seen with some species that have 6 arms. Now, to say that they play the same games we do is a little off. Even their musical instruments are geared towards their physiology. But yeah, they absolutely have entertainment. They also have what they call superstars, and some of the species, most of the species, in all honesty, still have a problem with class differentiation. There are not many that look at everybody and go, "You're all equal." Oddly enough, I'm probably one of the few people you run into that does.
Love it. Love it, Keith. Let's go to Yeshua here. What's the timeline of alien races on Earth? Which ones were here first?
Well, that's the easy part. The first aliens to get here would be the Moldocs. That's way behind many of the ancient races, which evolved here. But the Moldocs, well, correction, the Zerziks would be the first one to arrive in the area, but the Moldocs were the first ones to touch down. The first aliens to touch down. Now, you did end up with some Mirandi that showed up at the same time, as well as Lemurians. But we got to realize these guys showed up as Earth was being formed, like as it basically first come out of the primordial soup. So they've been here for a while. But they would be the first to show up. Since mankind arrived, well, the Reticulans were here way ahead of the game. The Kamalians found this place and utilized it quite nicely as a hunting ground. Okay, but the Sazazians were the first ones to get here from an off-world capacity as a self-appointed ally and defender of Earth. And yes, they got the go-ahead. They got the go-ahead and the guidance from the consortium before they arrived. Now there's a lot more that are here, but you were asking about the first ones to get here. Now, of course, when we start taking a look at the Hollick, the Waylash, the Waylash, and the Corridon, those are technically alien races. They're elementals. Okay. And I don't know if you want to say they got here first or they simply evolved here before most things took place.
All right, let's move on, Keith. We got lots of questions here. Let's go to Super Crazy. What do aliens think of AI? Are there any alien AI life forms?
Oh, certainly there are. And you do not want them on this planet because a true AI, and we had to actually sort that out. But now, which are we looking at? I'd have to look. Oh, the Xenon. There we go. The Xenon are a robotic life form. Okay. And they are absolutely bent on wiping out the bionomes, aka any non-mechanical, non-mechanically articulate in an individual race. These guys are absolutely bent on wiping out the bionomes. Okay. This, by the way, is a real bad idea because they rely on natural evolution to give them ideas on ways they can evolve. Okay. The Xenon are kind of like a cross between batteries not included and the batteries not included, the Transformers and Terminator. Okay. It's kind of an odd setup, but they are true AI. And they have no compunction about wiping out a bionome.
Next question, Keith, comes from Nathan. What is the latest update you have from the ETs? Anything from their last visit?
Number one, I am supposed to stop trying to go home. They were not impressed with my last trip a couple of months ago. But the one thing they keep telling me, and it's an ongoing thing, they are not looking to invade Earth. No matter what fear-mongering individual, no matter what level they're at, okay, whether we are talking industry superstar or simply a political figure, none of the off-world races are looking at invading Earth, period. Earth itself is a phenomenal resource, and they're not interested in burning it to the ground.
I should hope not.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you talk to the reticulans, the triple helix of the human genome is the most adaptable genetic resource they've got for growing cultural interpreters. And of course, because of humans' capacity to adapt to a complicated setup, they utilize that as best they can. But no, they are not. They do not try and create a problem for humans. That's just a natural side effect, unfortunately.
All right, Keith, let's go on again here. Let's go to Kevin. Are the Anunnaki from Enoch or Ezekiel's wheel? Is this biblically based, or I'll have to turn it off?
Okay, I'm not quite certain how that works. But the Anunnaki, like Ezekiel's wheel, I don't feel actually applies to the Anunnaki, although I do feel it applies to off-worlders. Now, bear in mind, this is my own personal outlook. I'm not going to get into a battle of whether or not the icons that basically govern that type of conversation go. That can go into somebody else's debate. But the Anunnaki aren't the ones that handle a ship that size because it's too small for them. You got to remember, Anunnaki, the adult, when an Anunnaki gets to reproductive age, they're already 15 feet tall. And then they range anywhere up to 60. So we're not talking about small people.
No.
And if you look at the reports on the size of Ezekiel's wheel, it was, to say the least, it wasn't even close to that size.
Definitely not. Definitely not. All right, let's go to T-Bone. Is Earth music admired with others?
The short answer is by some. Okay, you got to remember, music is an individual thing. You know, some humans like certain types of music. Myself, I'm country. It's just that simple. But when you take things like the Aurora Borealis, this is essentially a different type of music. Same as the seismic readings that we call just noise. Some races see that as absolutely beautiful harmonics. So yeah, there are alien people from various races that like human music. Okay, I will tell you, the Kaldar, what you know as dwarves, absolutely love human music. Okay, some of the human music.
Very nice. Here comes another one. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Have any of the off-worlders you have interacted with provide you with a form of financial advice to help humanity maintain financial stability into retirement and beyond? In other words, you have an alien accountant.
The short answer is yes. The reality is, in the world of finance, I'm a nobody. And therefore, the people that are quote unquote educated will not listen. And literally, they choose not to. And that's based on literally greed, which, by the way, leads to financial disaster. But yes, I mean, the reality is that the off-worlders do not use, on their own planets, they use finances in one form or another. But none of them that are spacefaring in outer space use any sort of finance. They work on man hours. But there are all kinds of ways that I'm implementing in my own world, like in my own finances, to make certain I land on my feet. But you got to remember, from their standpoint, greed is counterproductive to financial liquidity.
All right, let's continue on. Let us go next to Super Crazy. Do all alien species wear clothes, or does some just kind of walk around au naturel and in the nude?
Oh, many of them don't even understand the purpose of clothing. Okay, I mean, there are some that you literally, clothing wouldn't make any difference, right? But most of them don't bother with it because they grow armor. They either grow armor or they grow carapace, and to them, it's as normal as asking, does a deer ever wear pants? Or would you ever wonder why a lion isn't wearing a top hat? You know, they just don't see the point to it.
Well, maybe we got to point that out a little bit, that maybe walking around nude in alien wear just doesn't suit humanity.
Well, the good news is they don't insist humans wear what they wear, which is probably a good thing when you think about it.
Maybe.
Given that some of these races value human skin as a type of cloth, I'm thinking it's not going to go over well in humans' eyes.
All right, let's continue on here, Keith. Let's go next to this question here. We all know there are malevolent ETs. Who takes care of them?
Depending on what their malevolence level, either their own species or the consortium itself, depending on where they're causing the problem. If they're causing the problem on their own planet, then their own people take care of it. If they're causing it in consortium governed space, the consortium deals with them. And rest assured, in the consortium, there is no go to death row. You know, I could go into the details on that, but the negative entities are dealt with usually in a very summary fashion, where they don't get the chance to continue being a problem child or the chance to educate others in how to do likewise.
Right. All right, let's continue on. Lots of questions about the music question. Let's go back there for a second. Have you ever heard alien music? If yes, could you hum something for us?
Heck, I can't hum human music for you. But the short answer is yes. I have heard alien music. The best one that some of you have actually heard is the Aurora Borealis. That is alien music by all definitions. Well, by any definition I know of. And no, there is no way I can hum that. Pretty much the only way I can carry a tune is if I've got a cassette recorder in a bucket. Or I guess in today's world, a phone in a bucket.
It all works. It all works, my friend. Next up, about music again, the Michael LeJ is asking, does any of our music resemble some alien groove?
Absolutely. When you take a look at human percussion instruments, okay, many of those resemble a lot of what the Gadefni use, okay, and the Eniod. When you're looking at your wind instruments and your stringed instruments, you're looking at very similar to Venusian and Orion. Okay, I think the best ones where it comes to your what you would get. Have you ever heard somebody play the crystal glasses?
Yes.
Okay, that's very similar to Vulcan music. Bear in mind, Vulcans are not pointy-eared goblins with green blood. They are actually a tripedal crystalline race.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, Keith, 6.5 minutes to go. Have any of the off-worlders provided you with an exercise program to get in shape and maintain a healthy figure for the rest of our natural lives? God, if they do, Keith, pass it on to me because I need some of that.
I can give it to you, and in your case, Dave, I will give you a lot more of it, but the short answer is yes. Many of the well-educated, and I mean properly educated health professionals in the fitness industry on today's world are doing very similar things to what I've been told. Okay, but the one thing they tell that they have said absolutely emphatically, there is no shortcut. Okay, there is no diet, there is no chemical or mineralogical, concoction that works better than the natural food. It may work faster, but it doesn't work better. But I mean, to give you an idea of whether or not their methods work, I was developing neuropathy in both of my feet after my cardiac. My left one is healed. I don't have the problem anymore. My right leg I'm still working on, but that's been my bad leg from the get-go.
Right. All right, let's go to another one here. This next one comes from, let's see here, Andromedan. Do some alien races split their consciousness to learn or explore?
The short answer would be virtually all of them. You see, when we came to Earth, when humans got here, you were told, remember who and what you are. Well, remembering is finding your soulmate and bringing it into a merge. This is literally what every species out there is in the process of doing. And they're not all, like, you're not looking at your soulmate necessarily being another human or another member of the same species. But that's literally what they did way back. I've got to double check the numbers, but I do believe that every soul, when it first comes in, splits into 4,096 different component parts and scatters across the third dimension. Okay, it's not a question of going to the fourth or fifth to find your soulmate. It's a question of somewhere in this dimension, you'll find your soulmate. It may not be on Earth and it may not be human. Okay, but there are many species that can actually split their attention. Now let me think here. I believe it's the Xenon that literally have two consciousnesses in their head, in their existence right from the get-go. And yes, they work on two different setups at the same time.
Continuing, so we got 3 minutes. Who are or were the Patals? Have you ever heard of that species?
That sounds like an offshoot of the Ennead. But that being said, I'll have to look back. I've heard the term before. Somebody mentioned it probably a year ago. Okay. Would not shock me at all. Now, I may know them by a different name would be the biggest problem. So whoever put that question out there, if you can drop me a little information on what you know about them, I may already have them documented under another name. Just to give you an example, most people know who the Greys are. I know them as the Reticulans.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Let's see if we can sneak one more in here, Keith. Here we go. Have you ever interacted with thought forms?
Absolutely. You are dealing with a non-corporeal, but they still have the same outlooks. Okay. Ultimately, when you take a look at some of the lesser formed individuals, such as your Zerziks, your Yumion, and your Verozic, essentially they're a thought form. They don't have much of a physical body. They do produce light, which is why they look like they're a glowing point.
Very interesting. Keith, we got about 90 seconds left with you tonight. And I want to say a big thank you to you kicking off year number 10 that we are doing together and for kicking off 2026 for this show. It's always exciting to have you here as you come in once a month to hang out with us to ask or answer audience questions about all things extraterrestrial. And we always have so much fun with you tonight. Do me a favor, take about 40 seconds. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Well, the easiest way to track me down is if you go to YouTube at R. Keith Andrews, you'll find me there. Okay. And at buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ, you can find every book I've got on the market, both physical and PDF. Other than that, honestly, finding me now isn't that hard. I'm on Facebook, as R. Keith Andrews. I don't go by a different name. Okay, I never saw the point to it. I absolutely will come out. I'll come on anybody's show, but finding me is relatively easy. Worst case scenario, I'm pretty certain Dave will tell you how to get to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely, buddy. Thank you, Keith, for coming on tonight. Coming up next, we have Swamp Dweller. Then Terry Hall filling in for an injured Lee Strauss on the Q&A. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate you,
so
buddy.
much, Dave. Happy New Year to you and yours.
Absolutely. Give the lovely wife a hug from all of us, okay?
Absolutely. That's where I'm heading next.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Take care.
You too. Have a good one.
Bye. All right. I'll be right back, everybody. Let's bring in Uncle Terry and his gorgeous mustache. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going, old beard of knowledge?
Oh, I'm I don't know. Got a little bit of a headache right now, but that's okay.
I think it's just going around right now, Dave. Down here too.
Excuse me.
I've got the old bottle handy myself, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You have a good
Hello,
day?
everybody. Happy New Year's, by the way. Actually, yes, I got to start my weekend early today, so
Oh,
I was
beautiful.
quite pleased.
Beautiful.
Yeah, when I work in in the security industry, and so days off for me are pretty few and far between. But when I can grab them, man, I grab them.
Don't blame you.
Did your New Year's start well, Sir Dave?
Yeah, not too bad.
Right on, man. Oh, excuse me. I love our Keith, and if he's still listening, then congratulations on the nuptials, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My hearty congratulations.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Absolutely. He's one of the rare ones, Dave. He's encyclopedic in his knowledge. He's very knowledgeable. And
One second.
His heart's in the right place. That's
We're
all.
coming back in 3 seconds here. We are in hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight, our first show of the year. And guess what? We love our radio audience. We figure we're around a couple 100,000 tuning us in each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you very, very much. And I hope you're enjoying what you are hearing because, well, we love playing it for you. We do. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Naturism. Naturism is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clams sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hi everyone, my name is Lena. I'm Malaysian, and I spent a summer in the United States as a part of a school program at Virginia Tech University. There are lots of extracurricular activities to do. I mean, what else were we going to do with our spare time? So I got to know a lot of my classmates rather well, while doing all sorts of cool things. One of the most amazing things I got to do while there was a hiking trip in the Appalachian Mountains, in the Appalachian Trail. I managed to get some pictures of the most stunning views I've ever seen in my life, and walking those hills will remain one of my most memorable moments. But I'll never forget this interesting encounter I had in the Appalachians, for one reason, because it included one of the most hair-raising, terrifying experiences of my life, one of which left me shaking for the amount of adrenaline running through me. So, at one point, we were taking a break from hiking, eating some snacks, and taking sips from our bottles of water that didn't manage to stay very cold for long. I'm chatting with my best friends on the trip, Sol and Gabby, when we hear some rustling in the foliage next to us. The next thing I hear is our guide whispering, "Don't move. No one move a muscle." This was strange to me because they had been confident to the point of cockiness all the way up until now. A real outdoorsy manly man type. But hearing the fear in their voice made my blood turn to ice, which has no small feat on such a hot day. I did what I was told. I did not move. I just sort of shifted my eyes in the direction of the rustling. And when I saw what came out of the bushes, I could not even scream, as I was so scared. It was like I had been turned into a stone statue, albeit one that trembled uncontrollably with fear. It was a bear, a black bear, and it was walking right towards me. I suppose it had been attracted to the smell of our snacks. From what I understand, black bears don't have the best eyesight, but they do have an incredible sense of smell, and even though we weren't cooking any food, it must have been close enough in the area to pick up the scent. I stayed as still as I possibly could as it walked up to me, but when it stood up on its hind legs, I swear my heart nearly stopped beating altogether. I had no idea they could do that. Like, I knew of black bears and, grizzly bears and polar bears and stuff like that, but I never thought that they did this behavior. But oh my God, this thing was not small when it stood up like that. It was easily 6 feet tall. I was trembling and holding back whimpers of fear as it started to sniff at my hijab, knowing that if I made one wrong move, if I didn't keep my cool and stay perfectly still, it might just maul me to death right then and there. It was probably the most terrifying moment of my life so far. It seemed to have lost interest in me after a few moments, moving on to my friend Saul, who just dropped the sandwich he was eating immediately. The bear sniffed at it, but ignored it, and then did the same thing to her, standing on its hind legs and sniffing at her face and neck. Then suddenly, just out of nowhere, it just lost interest in us and wandered off into the woods again. We all breathed a heavy sigh of relief, thanking God that it wasn't hungry or ballsy enough to have attacked us. Never in all my years have I ever been in such an up-close encounter with such a powerful wild beast. It left an incredible mark on me, giving me a profound respect for nature, even more than I had beforehand. I just thank God it wasn't a grizzly or something that was a little bit more aggressive, because if it was, I more than likely wouldn't be here to tell this story.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, ring the bell, hit subscribe, and Swamp Dweller will have thousands of stories there for you to listen to each and every night. It's time for the Q&A.
Going extra small, but it's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call. He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
Filling in for Lee Strauss tonight, we have Terry Hall from the SOR team hanging on out with us because Lee injured his back earlier today, and he's barely moving off the couch right now. He'll be okay, day to day, just your typical workplace injury, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he slipped on some ice down in the slippery streets of Tacoma. I'm not sure, but the good part about it is Terry Hall and his beautiful mustache are here tonight to talk about some UFO stuff. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm here with you, of course. I'm doing well. How else could I be?
Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Happy New Year to you too, man. 2026. This is the year, right?
That's right. You look back on 2025 going into 2026. What was the biggest thing in the UFO world for you?
Actually, going from 2025 to 2026, going from congressional meetings and watching the toothpaste being pushed back inside the tube yet again to 2026, where there are no meetings scheduled. I think it's going to be a very quiet year in the UFO industry yet again.
Well, I think we got to get used to the fact that a lot of these hearings that I'm hearing, there's going to be at least one hearing coming up here in 2026. I don't know if there will be two, but I mean, just the whole idea and the thought, my friend, that it's going to happen again. We're not really sure what's going to take place, what's going to happen, who's going to speak, but I think we're going to get one more hearing here. What do you think?
What I've grown unfortunately accustomed to I came into this industry, and now I do term it as an industry in kind of a weird way, but I have found out something about this. The way that this works, whoever is pushing the narrative, and I'm not talking about terrestrial now, I'm talking about it. We'll just use colloquially the term that they use now, NHI, non-human intelligence. Um, have a way of picking and choosing the people that are in this industry now. We've gone from just a few people who were key players in this to several people who are not only key players, but almost have a cabal. And then other people who are coming into this industry every day that are expanding things. Okay, with that being said, I just don't see this going the way that it should be. And I told you earlier, Dave, I'm probably going to go off script a little bit this evening, and I'm probably going to light a few fires, but it's 2026, and let's just pull the hat out of the bat. Let's pull the cat out of the, let's just yank the rabbit out of the hat here real quick.
Sure.
All right. We've got a lot of these people out here who this ball of wax started back in 2017 with the story in the Times and TTSA, right? That's when the government said these things are real, and man, the ball's rolling down the hill. What we've seen since then is the same thing that we've always seen. We've got some people here who say, I've had this thing that I could put on the table that would power the entire city, and all you got to do is send me $20 so I can make a movie about it. That never comes through, and then 5 years later, it gets rehashed and it goes all over again. We have people in this industry who put out provably false information that is so easy to point out. And when they put it out, they say, oh, I've got pilot testimony about all this kind of stuff. Where are the pilots at? We keep seeing all of these. They're not baseless stories come out, but they're just stories that nobody is willing to put the evidence up for. And what this guy and I did, that I met in a chat room halfway around the world, but ended up we lived in the same state but less than 30 miles from one another. We built this RV and we started going out into the field. It started something. Now there's plenty of them out there, but it shows that we as the public can take stuff that we can get off the shelf and go out and do this ourselves. Uncle Sam is never, until it becomes profitable for them or until it wins them political points, they're never going to put this out and say, okay, it's landed on the White House lawn. And that's why, Dave, you're so important. That's why Spaced Out Radio is so important. You don't have any political bias. You're Canadian. You're not Republican. You're not Democrat. You go to the people who go out in the field and gather information, and you talk to them. You bring them here, not just about the UFO subject, but about all the paranormal stuff. And it all ties together. The way that the NHI bring people into this is because of a skill set that they possess. I firmly believe that now. Whether you can make a movie, whether you can build something, whether you can keep an RV running and going down the road, it's all part of this machine that's going on. People keep saying this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Now we keep hearing stories about 2027. Whether it's they've learned to stretch these stories out for a couple of years so they can continue to make a paycheck out of this stuff, or whether it's really going to happen, now we don't know. But the only way we're going to know is by people like me and you. You go out into the woods. You've put out your videos. People love it when you go out in the woods because to go out into the field is not a thing for everybody. It's really not. Because honestly, the expense involved sometimes is just phenomenal. I was lucky enough, Tim Senor and I were lucky enough that when we started that project, everything that we wanted or needed fell into our lap. It was almost like it was fated to happen. I've been to these places like Blind Frog Ranch. We were invited courteously to Skinwalker. We've been all over the Uinta Basin. I spent 30 years out there. That's where I raised my family. We went to Sedona. We've been all over the place, met some incredible people. But this field can be poison as well as medicine. A lot of the movies and TV shows and things that are out there now are full stagecraft. You'd never know it. I've been to these locations. It's provable. However, they have a purpose because if it gets somebody to crack a book or look up, they've got their place here as well. Even if it is stagecraft, they have their place here. The stories where, I mean, they're putting out these photographs that when someone who's can see it from a different angle can show that it's something that wasn't a UFO, and that there could not be any possible way that any pilot has vetted that information. Those stories still have their place because it shows that, what some people see can be proven to be something else. I recorded a triangle craft here one evening that I got in my truck and chased. But when I called the director of MUFON in my state and he helped me do some research on it, it was a plane. It just, the way that I saw it and the way that the atmosphere that was that evening just blew me away. I mean, I think I even called you when I was in my truck chasing it down the road.
I remember that.
But then again, we were also out in the Uinta Basin at 11:11 p.m. when Dave Scott, sitting in Canada, called me 1,300 miles away and told me where to look up, and there were UFOs in the sky, and it was recorded. Consciousness plays a part in this. Everything plays a part in it, but what you need to do is keep your ears up for discernment. And I think in 2026 is where we really need to start calling these people out who are putting this stuff out there that is just a money grind for them. When I found out the kind of money that's involved with this for these TV shows and A&E and history, when I found out what those guys are making, it blew me away. That's how I can understand why they can sit there on a show and show a piece of footage that I was there when it was shot. I proved exactly what it was, but on their TV show, it sure did make a good UFO. And all it was a light at a gas station, the way that it was reflecting off some clouds. And they sat there on this show and argued it and said that they had given it to such and such of an expert, and the expert said it was this, which I'm sitting there knowing exactly what it was, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, the expert's dumb because he doesn't know what it is. The person who knows what it is sitting there arguing, playing his part in the show, and it was a part in the show. There's other shows where they're showing that they're diving and they're going into all of these caves. Well, guys, in the Uinta Basin, there's gilsonite everywhere. When you're on LiDAR over the top of it, it looks like a cave. There's no caves. There's no water in these caves. All of the footage that was shot there was shot at a reservoir 15 miles away from where X marks the spot. Right? But the show gets people interested enough to go out and look up, and it all plays a part in it. So I've come to the spot, Dave, in this whole industry where I'm just comfortable with it. If you want to make a show out of it and you get some money out of it, cool beans, man. But where I tune in to get my real information is here, because you're bringing in the people who are going out and researching this. And it's not just about one particular subject. It's about the paranormal. It all ties together. I mean, Dave, I've been working with the shaman in New Orleans for almost a year for this thing that attached itself to me when I was out in the field somewhere. I mean, it's been filmed. this thing that's stuck to me, this hitchhiker, let's say, has been caught on film. And it has derailed so many things in my life. It's incredible. It's scary. And then the other day when we were speaking, you were talking about reincarnation and how much the bubble of your essence can be transferred into something that hasn't been born yet.
Right.
All of this stuff ties together. So I hope in 2026 is when we put our discernment hats on and not our disclosure hats. And let's go out and make a difference. You can go to the store and buy equipment. And you know what, guys, believe it or not, anything that you capture, you can go right back to the company you bought that equipment from and say, hey, can you help me figure out what I caught here? That company, if they're reputable, and I'll tell you one company that we use that I love, Psionics cameras, full color night vision, really inexpensive. And when we captured our first instances on that, we took it right back to Psionics and said, can you tell me what that is? We didn't tell them what we thought it was. They asked us, what are you guys doing with these cameras? And we told them we're hunting UFOs. And they thought it was really cool.
Nice.
They're like, you're doing what? Well, absolutely vet that information for you. We've had scientists with us. We've had engineers with us. We've had inventors with us. It's because, and we met people that we had honestly not so much intention of meeting, but with as short a time we've been involved in the industry, we met people that I had fawned over for years. And they were very accepting. I mean, the guy that ran the first STARS team for Bob Bigelow was the guy that I went to and said, if you were going to investigate UFOs in today's world with today's equipment, how would you do it? And that's where the RV came from. He's like, I do it just like this. And we said, okay. So hopefully, like I said, with this new year, 2026, excuse me, guys, for my rant, but we need to get smart about this. We don't need to worry about what the government's doing, and let's do this ourselves. And then we can get the government to do what we want, how it's supposed to be to begin with.
I think that you hit the nail on the head right there, Terry. And I think this is going to be a year of exposure to the elements, shall we say, the elements that we may not want. And the one thing that I have noticed that really started probably the last half of 2025 going into 2026 is a lot of ufology is pulling away from apology. The UFO people are pulling away from the UAP people because it's becoming very trite. It's becoming very disillusioned, with hearings, with arguments online. It's becoming very that you're supposed to pick one side or the other. I mean, we here, and you and I have talked about this, we try and bring on both sides.
Yep.
If we'll have people who are very pro, let's say pro Lou Elizondo, and we'll have people who are anti Lou Elizondo. It doesn't matter, because that's our job as a show, is to bring people on. We'll have people who are very pro flesh and blood Bigfoot, and people who are very pro woo, that the creature has supernatural powers. It doesn't matter. We bring them all on because we have to show both sides of the ledger. We do. And I think if you focus strictly on ufology with this one, I think people are getting tired of the arguing. They're getting tired of the fighting. They're getting tired of the throwing people under the bus, whether you like somebody or not.
Exactly.
And that's where I think you're seeing a real deviation from apology, and people are trying to get back to old school ufology, where it was fun, it was interesting, it was about digging up stories, digging up information, and everybody enjoyed it. Terry Hall filling in for Lee Strauss on the Q&A. We'll be right back, everybody.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Terry, we're clear.
I warned you, Dave. I warned you.
No, that was perfect. I didn't think you said anything wrong there.
Oh, it's just, man, going to some of these locations that I've been to. Now that we're not tuned into that part of this, because that's another thing that's a standout about you is the radio as well. I mean, this is like WKRP in Cincinnati. That was a show I watched when I was a young man. I mean, all the stagecraft that was involved in this to make a show. But like I said, the one place I went to, dude, they even ran tours. They had this whole separate thing in a building where you could buy all their merch, and they had tour guides, and you had to pay X amount of dollars, and they'd take you out there. It's an industry.
Mm-hmm.
And but like I said, it's got its place. What got me back into this as heavy as it did, because I've always really been interested in this pretty much my entire life, was a Stephen Greer show. And it was what was the name of it? Undisclosed or oh, it was one that he did several years ago.
Unidentified? No.
It was unsomething. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that got me into all the black projects and everything. Well, then by chance, Tim and I met in a chat room that originated out of Amsterdam, of all places. We met half a world away and lived 30 minutes from one another. When I first met Tim, he had an experience that drew him into this, that scared him so bad that he didn't know where to go. I mean, he called me his cosmic counselor forever. Didn't we pretty much got drug into this against our will, moved the needle forward in a great distance in a short period of time. We've almost set a precedence where you've got all of these people out here now with these mobile research vehicles, which is great. I take great pride in the fact that we were we did it before NASA did it. So that's something, right?
It's a good thing.
But now Tim and I have gone, we haven't really so much gone our separate ways, but we've grown in different directions. Tim is continuing to move the needle forward. You're bringing somebody on here in very short order that I had the pleasure of meeting, and this guy is incredible with some of the stuff that he's built and some of the things he can do with it. And it's all off the shelf technology. He just is using it in a very unique way. I think it's cool. And that's what's SOR so important, because you guys are going to get to meet this guy and see what he's done. And if you want to, you can too.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Terry Hall. Little Terrence Hall.
We had you know what? We had a lot of fun when we were out there doing that.
Oh, I bet you did.
But once again, in that area, it's a very remote place. It's removed from everything. So there's a lot of strange things that happen out there, but I think you have to chalk some of it up to sheer boredom from where you're at. There's a lot of reasons you get in trouble out there, and 98% of it's just because you're bored to tears.
Absolutely. We got about a minute to go here, Terry.
And then once again, a lot of the people that I've met in this field, even the heavyweights that I've met, have been so courteous and gracious and accepting. And when I first came here to SOR, it was just a relief to have some place that I could talk about this stuff and not be looked at side-eyed. Like I should be wearing a tinfoil hat or something.
Right?
Another reason why Spaced Out is so important.
Very important. Hold on right there, Terry. Thank you to Deborah Rooney with a hat trick. Jeff Steve Garvey, because he'll hit a home run for you. The Ferret. Thank you. Area 54, Kitty Cattywhack. T-Bone times 2. And Mel WD 40 for all of the great super chats out there. Our store is always open at spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag. Terry, you'll be proud of me. I ordered 5 new t-shirts.
Ooh.
5 new t-shirts. They're on
You
their
really
way.
don't have bummer swag, dude. You really don't.
Here we go. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Terry Hall is in for the Q&A tonight, so we're glad to have Terry with us, filling in for Lee Strauss. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Terry Hall, the Q&A going on right now on Spaced Out Radio. And Terry, here's an interesting point. Everybody in this field knows who Chris Bledsoe is. For those who do not, Chris Bledsoe is an experiencer. He's a very religious gentleman who believes that a person he calls, or a spirit he calls, the lady, which many people have tried to interpret as maybe being the Virgin Mary, is apparently controlling the UFO story. Now, his son Ryan was on a podcast earlier where he basically said the lady, according to Chris Bledsoe, is going to show up this year in 2026 and destroy the dark forces, and we should welcome her with open arms. Want to get your thoughts of this kind of prophecy, my friend?
Well, they also related that with an alignment that is actually, the alignment is going to be well before this whole white lady thing. Once again, now, okay, he says it's the Virgin Mary. So let's go back to these 3 kids that happened to say that they met the Virgin Mary too. Well, if you actually read what they wrote down and listen to what those 3 young people said, it was more of a globe that they saw. Could have been a UFO. Could have been something that we might have thought is the Virgin Mary, but it's not. When it comes to the white lady with Chris Bledsoe, though, I mean, that's a 50-50 with me, Dave. I can't say that there is going to be one specific thing that's driving this entire narrative. I can't believe that to be true. The Pope did just come out again. This Pope did just come out again and said that if there are aliens, the church, the Holy Roman Church would accept them. And the reason that they can justify that theologically now is to say that aliens wouldn't be involved in our universe would say that God couldn't be that creative. So that's how they're going to tie it. So it's not a theology thing anymore. But as far as one specific thing running this whole narrative, I can't hitch my wagon to that team of horses, dude. It just don't fit. Chris Bledsoe, I mean, he had a congressman that looked up at the sky for 3 hours and absolutely nothing happened after all of these promises. But then again, I know someone who's going out this year to specifically meet with Mr. Bledsoe and have an experience of their own. And that person who I know is going to go meet this person has absolutely no intention of telling me any different besides exactly what happened while they were there. So, but once again, Dave, I can't go back to a just one all controlling, all seeing, all knowing everything that controls the whole narrative about this. How about you?
Well, Chris Bledsoe, I think, is a special person. I mean, there is a reason, okay, that has been studied by NASA. He's been studied by many United States university scientists. He allegedly has had the Vatican look into his case. He has a lot of protection from people in the secret ops world as well. Okay, because he does have something unique and something that his contact is very, very precise at times. But there have been times where he has been wrong. And it's been caught on film where he's saying he's summoning something in, and it's been an airplane or it's been a helicopter off in the distance, or it's been a satellite. Like Chris will tell you point blank, he is a God-fearing, humble man, an honest man. And he'll also tell you that he, for as nice of person, I want to be careful with this because I don't want people to think I'm calling him stupid. Okay, but he'll tell you point blank that, you know, there's a lot he doesn't know that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think a lot of people in our field take it as him being just a southern redneck who doesn't have much education. You know what I'm saying? But he is a very nice, humble man. I've met him personally. I've interviewed him a couple of times, and I think it would be, you know, great if we try and get him back on the show here soon, because he believes that come around Easter time that the lady is going to make an appearance. Now, what does that have to do with disclosure? I don't know. What does that have to do with anything religious or end times or Armageddon? I don't know. But one thing I will say about Chris Bledsoe is he's trying to be as honest with what he knows. And I like the guy. I think a lot of people on the internet hammer him for no reason. They've never met him, you know, but that's par for the course in being internet tough.
Well, please don't take me wrong, Dave. I mean, I love Chris. You're like you said, he's a one in a million. He's a gem. And let's be frank about this. In today's world, with his dark of, I mean, we're in an anti-renaissance right now. With as dark as the world is right now, something like an appearance like that could really move the needle to get us away from thinking so party-like or so, let's say, nationalists. We're Americans, we're Russians, we're Lithuanians, we're Ukrainian. We're not earthlings.
I know, I see where you're going with that, but
right.
But here's the thing that please finish. Go ahead.
I just think if something like that does happen, it would be fortunate. But once again, that's like saying that, you know, when Jesus Christ is going to come back.
Well, and that's my point, is people who have made a lot of prophecies fail more times than they are correct.
It does say in the Bible at the end of the Old Testament, God said, look, I was here. I proved I was here. And now it's on faith. I'm going to give one guy the power of prophecy. He's going to have 12 disciples. And then when they're done, guess what? All the prophecies are done too. That's so hard baked in so many different religions. It's incredible. I mean, it's kind of hard to prove, but then again, the story is so popular, it's kind of hard not to believe. you know?
Oh, I hear you. But here's the thing. And this is something that I want to put out to the UFO world, Terry. What if he's right, but all of his university and government connections hold him back from going public about the lady's arrival?
That is a definite possibility. Now, I've also found out something else about this whole thing, Dave, is a lot of it goes back to intent. Intent. Like we've gone out with all of our cameras and stuff just to enjoy ourselves, enjoy each other's company, and caught some incredible things on camera. When we've gone out into the fields with the specific intent to capture something incredible on camera, we get nothing. It's because our heart's in the wrong place, right? I think Chris's heart is in the right place. And I think that whatever entity he has been interacting with is hoping that if they do, and if this does come to pass, that it's going to put a bright spot here and give us something to work and strive towards to get away from where we're at now. But if that isn't the intent and it's going to derail the military industrial complex, then they're going to put a lid on it, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Until this moves the needle forward with a political agenda where it's going to benefit them, we're lost. And that's why it's so important for us to take command of this on our own.
Well, that's the thing. And we're going to find out because Easter isn't that far away. It's now just a couple of months away.
Mhm.
And look, this is going to turn into a field day for the UFO hate groups out there and those who are skeptical, those who are non-believers, that if Bledsoe is wrong in his prophecy, okay, let's say she doesn't show up, the guy is going to be run ragged with a lot of negativity on social media, especially. And I don't think he cares. He's that dedicated. He's that much of a God-fearing guy.
I think we could put a different spin on this, Dave.
Sure.
I think that everyone who is available and can make that trip should be there with him. All the public people all the podcasters, everybody who can be there, be there. That way, if it happens, they can't side rail it. There's too many somebody's going to leak it somewhere. If it doesn't happen, it can actually put the point to where in 2026 that we can come together and work together. And if it didn't happen, at least we were there in force to show that we can work together and come together instead of being so separate and divided in this whole industry.
Well, Eric Burleson, congressman, actually met with Chris Bledsoe to summon orbs and these angelic beings. And Burleson was asked about it on a podcast called Total Disclosure, the podcast, and basically said that nothing happened. And yet a few weeks later, Bledsoe was out there with other people and the orbs showed up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've also heard that we've got another whistleblower coming out with the most concrete evidence ever. Photographs, more photographs. Once again, Dave, it could have gone back to intent, where Eric Burleson came out there with the specific intent to see something incredible that was going to knock his socks off and make him believe. But because the intent wasn't there for him to be for himself and not to prove a point, maybe it didn't show up on purpose. Maybe that was the whole lesson and the whole story to begin with. You never know. Eric Burleson could walk out of his backyard tomorrow and a tall white alien could be there standing there with a beer in their hand going, why don't we have a seat?
Well, let's make this. Let's put another hairpin turn in this. Okay, so there's this person named J2, who's an alleged psionic asset, who claims they've been visited by the lady as well, who is an interdimensional ethereal being. And apparently, according to this J2, the US government is taking her messages very seriously. So,
Dave,
let me just read some of this first.
go ahead.
Apparently, the US government, according to J2, is taking the messages from the lady, okay, who's appeared to him and Chris Bledsoe dead serious at the highest levels. People have directly contacted J2 about his own experiences. J2 confirms he has personally been in contact with the lady. So, could this be somebody trying to ride the back of Chris Bledsoe, or is the lady in contact with more people? We don't know.
Where I can put some credence into this is some of the journeys that I've taken have been with, let's say, with aid. And I have met an entity that's very well known, the Blue Lady, along with some machine elves. So there is in the multiverse, or maybe interdimensionally, there is something else there that's just we're staring at a very thin veil. And what we're not seeing with one part of our brain, when we open it up, we can see with another part. Now, if that entity has figured out a way to pierce the veil without some other means, then awesome. And hopefully they'll reveal that to the world. Once they do, I mean, all ego is going to be put to the side, because we're really going to know where we're at in the universe, and hopefully what our role is and why we're here. I would hope so anyway.
It does make it very interesting, a very interesting story. That is for sure. You know, whether or not it happens, I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. We really will.
Well, I can only cross one set of fingers because I only got half a finger on this hand. So
Yeah, you don't say give me 10 anymore. You say give me 9.5.
9.5, exactly.
How do you rate something, Terry? 9.5 out of 10.
9.5 out of 10. 1.5.
1.5 stars. That's right.
Yeah, you know, what I said about consciousness, and with Chris Bledsoe being able to call these down, the psionics is coming into effect now. Stephen Greer's CE5 contact protocol. There's also a protocol that you can follow from from Stanton. It's been a widespread belief that you can break you can communicate with these things, but once again, I think it goes back to intent, why you're doing it. If you get what I've always wanted to do and what I'm trying to pull together, and I think what we're going to eventually end up achieving, is getting a bunch of people of like mind. In other words, a bunch of us who believe in UFOs and understand what the CE5 protocol is and psionics protocol is, to gather here at this property, because I've got a lot of room here, a big group of us all at once, sitting down with the same intent to try to make contact and break through to see if we can actually really call one of these things in. It's something that I've really wanted to do for a long time, but when we went to this last UFO thing here in Oregon, they shut down the entire town of McMinnville. It's where they had, well, the whole McMinnville property. I own it too. But anyway, this last time that we went, we met a bunch of people who, once we got talking about that, thought it was a great idea. And we've just been waiting for the weather to be permitting and for me to cut the back 40, which is all accomplished. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll all have a great big gathering out in the backyard, and we're going to bring cameras and we're going to record everything and we're going to see what we can do. That was another, I mean, it all started out with an RV a long time ago. It's been 3 years ago now. And Dave played, once again, SOR played a big part in that whole chapter of our lives as well.
Oh, we do our best. We do.
Dude, you've
do
been
our
doing this for over a decade now.
11 years. We're in year 11 right now.
And I mean, Dave, you're so unique in this industry. You're on the radio, but you're on social media as well. You're serving two masters, and you're doing a great job of it, by the way.
Thank
You're not. We don't watch you to be led down either a Republican or a Democratic venue. There is no venue here. You're Walter Cronkite, man. You report the story. And once again, you report on the paranormal, the entire subject of everything, because all of it, I truly believe now in this journey that I've been on for the last almost 4 years now, that all of this stuff is tied together. It really is tied together. I mean, Bigfoot is one of the best hide and go seekers that there is in the universe. I
Mhm.
think that's his entire role is master of hide and go seek. I mean, for real, for real. But
Right.
then again, you guys going out in the woods and chasing something that weighs 1,200 pounds that could tear you in half, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. You guys are a whole separate breed, man. I've told you that before.
Right. And quickly here before we wrap things up, Terry, I was asked in the chat room earlier when we would be going back out. We're going to have to wait until May when the snow melts before we can get back out there. Terry Hall, it is always a pleasure to have you filling in for little Lee Strauss as we got about 20 seconds to go. And thank you for your kind words tonight. I really do appreciate that. You know, it's tough what we do, but we do our best. And you know, I know people want more, especially on the social media side. We're trying to get there. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but we're working our best behind the scenes to bring you more content. As we say goodnight to Terry and all of you, and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio, Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Terry Hall. Let me get you off mute here for a second. Hold on. There we go. Good job, Terrence Hall.
Thank you. This was the Christmas present I got for myself, and he's so cool.
What is that? Hold on. Let me turn my hair back to you here for a second. What is this?
It's a little UFO, but when it sucks the cow up to it, it moves.
Oh, that is just brilliant. That is
Nope.
just brilliant.
that's my little Christmas present to myself. I saw it in the store. I was like, that is so cool. Ah.
Give me 2 seconds, Terry.
Oh, you're good, buddy. You're good. Yeah, Dave, I didn't mean to rant this evening, man, but I mean it's time for people to really understand that even though a lot of this is stagecraft, there is really something going on.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the public panicking because of all this stuff, I mean, that's all out the window. The church has already accepted it, so the theological part of it's already squared away. Now it's just a political game. And if we move the needle forward on our own, there's nothing new about it.
I agree with you. And
You have a homemade UFO, Michael? Like a full size one or the kind that I just had in my hand? If you got a full size one, come pick me up, Scotty. I'm ready to go. That's somebody in your chat, Dave. Yo. Got any good plans for the weekend, Mr. Scott?
oh, JSCO, thank you to add to the super chat. Appreciate that. I'm going to be doing some AI work. I want to try and build the commercials for.
Actually, why don't we have a powwow about that?
Sure.
Either tomorrow or Sunday, whenever you can make time.
Sure. Whatever, it works.
Because I've already got a lot of the clips. I'll just forward them over to you, and then you can tie them in. And
Sure.
hopefully between what I got and what you've got, we can.
Well, I've got nothing.
Have some fun.
I've got nothing started. I just got ideas.
No, Joe. Okay. Let's break this down. So when I met Tim, we went to Phenomicon, the first one that they had in Vernal. And while we were down there at first, we met a lot of really cool people. Anyway, on the way home, we were driving on the way home, and Tim and I were talking. It's like 3:00 in the morning. And I said, hey, man, how come nobody has a mobile laboratory to go out and investigate these hotspots, right? All of these places that are supposed to, it was like a thought in the night, really. Hey, we ought to we ought to buy an RV and put a bunch of equipment in it and just go lollygag around and check stuff out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as it turned out, it happened, and it just everything fell on. I mean, we came back home. We had some friends of ours, my wife and I, that had their RV parked out here. Turned out they wanted to sell it, and they gave us at a stupidly good price. Tim was the financier for all of this, and so we got the RV. We bought everything that we could think of. We got a hold of the gentleman who ran the first Stars team for Bigelow at Skinwalker Ranch. We found out what he did while he was there. We mirrored some of his equipment, but then we went out and bought some of the newer stuff that we have available to us, night vision goggles and thermal cameras and drones and stuff like that. Loaded it all up and took off, hit the road. had some great times. And then this whole hitchhiker thing has a way of throwing a wrench in stuff for me. So at one point, Tim went one way and I went the other. That means Tim is still my best friend to this day. He's one of my dearest friends and I love him to death. But Tim was pulled in, and this goes back to the same thing. Like I said, they're pulling people in here for something they can do. Prior to what happened to Tim at Bainbridge Island, UFOs were not a priority for him. Not at all. He comes from a very scientific family. His dad worked for a very large company. He was an engineer and an inventor. His mother was a nurse. UFOs weren't a high priority. Now that's all Tim can talk about because of what happened to him at Bainbridge Island, which brought him to me, actually brought us together. I counseled Tim to let him know that what he had seen really was real, because for some people, when they don't understand anything about this, like their whole life, they're told that vampires and werewolves and Bigfoot and everything's not real. Well, you get something like that pops up and it's right in front of your face and you're staring at it. And now, hey, if that one thing is real, what else out there in the world that I've been told is fantasy isn't a fantasy? And that's where Tim was. It broke him as a human being. He didn't know which way was up. And it didn't just affect him, it affected other people in his family as well. Long-term effects. But it brought him into the industry. And now Tim is in the middle of moving the needle forward in a way that I never could. But without us, Dave, you and I both, coaching Tim, making Tim feel comfortable with what he was doing, giving him the confidence to move forward, now he's doing some phenomenal stuff. A lot of the people that we met throughout this entire process mirrored what we did, took it to the next level, and moved on with it. So, long story short, that's what the whole RV is, not remote viewing. We actually bought a Class A RV, put all the equipment in it that we could fit, from all the different styles of cameras. We had metal detectors, LiDAR. We even built a radar system, an actual radar system. And we met some incredible people. Dave's going to have a guy on here soon, Tom King, who has built one of the most unique and incredible tracking, hunting down UFO, UAP recording devices I think anybody on planet Earth has right now. And he built it all himself. Of course, the guy built R2D2 in his garage in his spare time too. I mean, actually, he's got a couple droids that he's built. He's a really cool dude. And during our journeys, we were able to get no baloney, actual scientists from universities that would blow your mind. They came out with this because when we met these people, we told them we're trying to get empirical evidence that we can present the Congress. That was our entire intention to begin with, was to go out and get this evidence that we could actually take and vet, give to people and say, I don't know what this is. If you could take a look at it and tell me what you think. And then we get a general consensus about this stuff and we can repeat the experiments and then we can present it to Congress as something that can be looked at. That was our intention to begin with. Granted, it went sideways after that, but it's all part of the progression. So yeah, there's a couple other people that got pulled into this while we were making our journey throughout this that have a specific set of skills. It's that whole Leslie Nielsen thing, right? I've got a very particular set of skills.
Nice analogy, by the way.
But that's how it works. I mean, there wasn't a person that I called that wasn't willing to speak to me. And these are people that I had fawned over, and your Richard Dolans and Grants and those kind of people that I had listened to on the radio and in tapes and stuff for years. Within a couple of months of building that RV, I'd met all of them. And I'm still in contact with them, even though all I do anymore is hang out in the rear with the gear. I got the answers I was searching for. I found out probably more about the whole shows and everything than I probably should have, but the nature of what we were doing led me to be in places that when I saw the show and compared it to the place where I was actually at, could see what was going on, you know?
You know what? It's too bad. It's too bad you guys just still didn't have that RV
Yeah.
because that would be a great base camp about 2 miles away from Flight 21.
Well, I tell you what, Dave, the reason that we don't have the RV any longer is because we figured out we could put everything we had in the RV basically on a bat belt. And we don't need something that costs $2,000 to travel 400 miles. We can now wear it around our waist and be in the comfort of a Suburban somewhere.
I know, but little Timmy won't come out here anymore.
Well, part of the reason little Timmy won't come out there anymore, and this boils down to something else too, is the paranormal aspect of what you guys experienced out there, Dave. It was frightening.
Mm-hmm.
You see, we've been invited here in the state of Oregon to go to a few of the historical buildings to try to document paranormal experiences there. And Tim has declined every one. Tim, to this day, has these dreams. And I mean, they're very, very vivid. It's the kind of dreams that you wake up and you remember, and they're almost episodic. Like say, Dave, for instance, you could set this Pepsi on this table here in your dream this evening, and then tomorrow you could come back up in the same dream and pick it up where you left it. That kind of thing, right? Well, some of those dreams are interrupted. Like when we were invited to go to this theater down in Salem, um, Tim called me, wanted me to go. And then 2 days later, he called me and said, "You could not get me to set step in. I wouldn't walk in that place. I wouldn't even come close to that place." Okay, Tim, why? I had a dream. Well, Dave, when you took him to Flight 21, and then the other place that you took Tim to, when he came back from Canada, Dave, that second trip that we took out in the field, the second big expedition that we took out in the field where we had like 12, 14 people with us, when he landed and I picked him up at the airport, he was white as a ghost, dude. He was a changed person when he came back from Canada. Literally a changed person when he was so scramble brained on that second trip. When he came back from Canada, and we had planned that trip from start to stop for almost 2 months before we started the whole thing, because plan was Tim goes to Canada, he takes the film crew with him, you guys go up, you do the shots, you do the, and we, you know what we were doing. And then on his return, we had a separate journey out in the RV back in the Uinta Basin for the third time, actually. And when he came back, I literally had to take the reins on that second expedition because Tim couldn't function. What happened? And I still to this day, I haven't got the entire story out of him of what happened up there. I've gotten bits and pieces from you. I've gotten bits and pieces from him. I've seen a lot of the footage, but whatever happened to Tim up there, Dave, it wasn't pleasant, and that's why he won't come back.
For our listeners that have been paying attention to this show, just so anybody that doesn't know, apparently the United States Air Force has started pounding Venezuela.
Yep.
Wow.
I heard a rumor out of the rumor mill today If you've been watching silver prices, they've been going really bonkers lately.
Mhm.
But I did hear a rumor out of the rumor mill today, and it's been proven pretty reliable up to recently anyway, that the government's going to start a very large buyback on silver for something about the war effort. So I don't know, man. I think that the white lady needs to like make an appearance here real quick, because this is going to get real deep real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Wow.
does the United States have to be the world police? I haven't gotten that, man. Why? Ever since World War II, but prior to World War II, we weren't even a world power, honestly. It was after World War II, and then we've been a world police ever since then. We've been all over everywhere. Why? What they're doing in Venezuela isn't affecting me in Oregon at all.
No idea, I think. Well, you know what? I don't know what to think about it. I don't want to comment just yet.
I'll make a big comment. It scares me to death, Dave. I come from a family of military people. My entire family for generations have all been war fighters. I'm the exception. And the only reason I didn't go into the military is because I got into a really bad car wreck when I was 14 and I couldn't join. Oh, yeah, it scares me to death. What really upsets me about it is wars are always begun and ended at a table. I think what we got to do is take the absolute leader of each country and put him in the Coliseum. Whoever wins the war.
Right?
Right?
Wish it was that easy. Well, my friend, we're going to wrap this thing up for tonight.
Good night, Dave.
I will be back on Monday. I have some things that I need to work out with my schedule here, because remember, if you're a member of our channel, there's a good chance that probably starting next week or the week after, that Sundays I'm going to be doing a special members only show. Okay, number one. And number two, we got a few things that we need to work on behind the scenes to get things kind of organized. But we're getting there. We're starting off on a positive on the new year. We're so glad we had a great crowd tonight. Do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell if you haven't already. And love you all.
And don't be stingy. Share like your mama taught you, okay?
Exactly. Tom King on Monday night, everybody. It's going to be fun.
Good night, y'all.
See you
later.
Good night,
Dave.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You